Greetings, friends and foes, and welcome along to Keep Your Friends Close and Your Enemies Closer. This is episode 39? 40. This is episode 40, our Halloweeb special, with me, as always, your anime vampire king, Joel.
And me, as always, your anime vampire spawn, Robert.
And me, your anime vampire slave, Curtis. Don't hit me!
Go fetch us a... Wait, I was going to say a wrench or something, but I was thinking of Frankenstein.
Yeah,
what do vampires need?
Anti-garlic bread?
Anti-garlic.
Go get us some PK, go get us some gum.
PK. In case the person we're trying to bite has garlic breath, you can be like, wait a minute, no, just this. Thank you, that's much better.
This is an anime podcast, and this week on the podcast we watched episodes 31, 32, and 33 of Revolutionary Girl Utena. And we're going to talk about that right now. But first, last time on Keep Your Friends Close and Your Enemies Closer. Robert.
Jury is still in the school, unfortunately.
Yeah.
We predicted that we hoped that she would have left at the end of her
It would have just
arc.
Confirmed our...
Nice arc ending for her, but now she's still around.
I wanted to address the fact that we were being a little bit Anglocentric with our idioms.
We were talking about fanning the flame, holding a torch for somebody.
Okay.
And that's all in English. I don't know if it works in Japanese, and that's worth thinking of with the candles. Because we were trying to use them as like reasons for the metaphor with the candles blowing out.
When we get to our post-episodes discussion, I have some things that are... Thinking about the show being made in Japan changes some of the, like the inconsequential to us, but when you think about it, it's like, oh shit.
Yeah. But I also pretty much nailed my prediction at the end of the last episode. Ish.
Well,
I didn't realise it was going to be 2 episodes, but say it was going to be the Nanami episode and she fights, and it was going to be Touga that draws her sword, and then after the Nanami episode there was going to be a recap.
You did, actually, I forgot that you said that.
And it was the Nanami episode, then the recap.
I want to revisit some stuff once we've had these episode discussion, and also just heads up to any of the friends or foes listening, we're going to be doing some Halloween stuff after we finish talking about Utena. We're going to be recommending some horror manga and some horror anime, and I have different levels of stuff. So, if you don't like scary things at all, we've got something for you. And if you like some really scary stuff, we have something for you. If you like some really, really scary stuff, I don't have the constitution for that, but maybe you'll have something.
What's that kind of scary? What's that level?
We'll talk about it. I have one that I can think of that I have seen, but not recently, and we'll talk about that after Revolutionary Girl Utena Abridged.
Duel 31. Title.
Her tragedy.
The phone rings. Nanami answers. It's a girl wanting Touga. Nanami scares her away. And then in the greenhouse, Touga is telling some sweetheart of his on his cell phone that he's faithful only to you, baby, while he's holding another girl in his arms. Nanami's outside watching.
He's the biggest fuckboy.
He's a fucking... Oh, yeah.
Just like... It's insane how much...
Putang.
I was going to say how much pussy he pulls, but it is kind of like it's not it can't be possible. No. Maybe
for a 17-year-old as well.
He's not even got much money. He's got no money, right? Whatever. Moving on.
Later, Nanami is reading in a trash magazine that people with blood type B are least compatible with each other. She protests, saying that her parents, who are both Bs, they got along just fine. Touga quickly changes the subject and leaves to go take a shower, and he asks if Nanami wants to join him. Then he waits a full 10 seconds before saying, just kidding.
She is beet red. Little note there, Japanese people have but they put a lot of importance on your blood type.
Yeah.
I think they kind of read blood types like horoscopes, yeah.
There's a lot to do with like diets that are specific to your blood type and things.
I think they can tell a lot about your personality and your temperament based on your blood type.
Right. Okay.
Which is why in the 90s when you would get a JRPG for the PlayStation 1 and you would open up the booklet and be like, whoa! And then you'd read up the character bios, it would say their blood type and you'd be like, okay.
This tells me lots, yeah.
Nanami is worrying about them drifting apart while she watches him in the shower. Then she steals his phone, and he notices but doesn't say anything. The next day, she constantly intercepts calls from lovers and turns them away, saying, well, he must have dumped you then, didn't give you his new number. The mean girls approach and ask Nanami about his blood type, only for her to shoot them down. Why would you need to know about your compatibility? And they slink away. Touga also gets shot down while he's asking Utena out for dinner. Nanami sees this and then blames Utena for taking Touga away from her. Nanami logic. She tries to get revenge on Utena by throwing stone busts at her from the top of some stairs, but then she slips on a banana skin that Himemi has just dropped. And then
Akio flies in and saves her from falling down the stairs.
He bandages up her twisted ankle. Uh-oh.
And then Utena grazes his hand while she's taking the medkit from him.
And then she spaces out in his dreamy eyes. Himemi is feeding Akio some shaved ice, and Nanami is jealous of their relationship. The mean girls again ask for Toga's blood type, and she says, he's an A, alright? My parents are Bs, I'm a B, he's an A. And they say, that's impossible. You can't have an A if you're two Bs. And she's like, what do you mean? We're not related by... Oh my god, we're not related by blood. And she rushes home and she can find no photos of him as a baby. She concludes that he isn't really her brother and he was adopted. She gets depressed at that thought.
My sister used to tell me that I was adopted.
Oh yeah?
And her reasoning was... Find a baby photo of yourself.
Oh,
there was baby photos of me, but like when you had that extra step. Yeah. Got to me.
That's cruel. I did wonder for a while if I was adopted just because I was so different, but it's because my older brothers are twins and they were just like absolute identical in every way. And I was just different. Like I liked my potatoes mashed, they liked them whole, that sort of stuff, and I was like, maybe that means I'm adopted because I like my potatoes in a different way. Alright, so she gets depressed thinking that she's not actually related to the guy she's wanting to pop. Touga comes into her bedroom and asks after his cell phone, but she denies having it. He asks for a goodnight kiss and waits 5 seconds before he says he's kidding. Nanami runs away from home, can't take it anymore. She's asking around the student council and her friend Tsuabuki for somewhere to stay, and then Akio overhears and says, no, it's against the rules to sleep elsewhere than where you're assigned. So I'll just assign you to my place, because I'm trying to turn my place into a harem.
Just kidding.
6 seconds later. Himemi tells Utena that Akio, he doesn't discriminate when it comes to girls. He takes Caucasians, Indians, older women, prepubescent girls, students, people he has authority over, people he's directly related to. He's just a real progressive guy.
He was really specific with that list.
Really? Just as a progressive guy all around. Haha, just kidding. Haha. The shadows are looking for monkeys while a cuckoo is laying her eggs in another's nest. An obvious parable for adoption, I guess. Nanami and Utena win the beds in rock, paper, scissors. Taigo again. Touga arrives to take Nanami home, and she refuses because he isn't her brother. And he says, oh, how did you find out? And she says, oh, it's true then. And she runs away crying. Utena tries to cheer her up in bed, but Nanami leaves for the bathroom. On her way to the bathroom, she sees Akio on the couch, naked, with Himemi. She sits in an elevator, distressed at the sight of it.
100% confirming that they are indeed fucking.
Yes.
There was like an 85% chance. Yeah. 100% now.
Yeah, she's seen them going at it, and the rest of the next episode is pretty much all about that. Alright, Jewel 32, title.
Romance of the Dancing Girls.
Nanami is still screening Toga's calls. Utena, Akio, and Himemi are setting the table for breakfast, while Nanami scowls, not able to look at them the same way. She slaps the jam out of Himemi's hand and storms off. Nanami complains to Miki about it and offers to switch living conditions with him. He's keen to do so because he'll be close to Anthe, but she's kidding. Touga enters the greenhouse and he makes out with some chick while Nanami's eavesdropping. He says, she's not my sister. I was only ever pretending to be nice to her because my dad asked me to. She's a common, boring person. I would never be nice to her. The girl laughs and Nanami realizes it's Keiko. Nanami attacks Keiko in revenge, but she stands up for herself for once. Nanami realizes now she's just no different to the other girls. Back at Akio's house, Utena is hungry and Akio starts to shave some ice to have because that's all she can prepare. Utena goes to interrupt Akio and Kane in the planetarium to ask about dinner and what's going to happen, and Himemi stops her in a panic. Don't go in there!
We do see, like, a single, maybe 2 second shot of him feeding Kane with an apple, and she looks fucked.
Yeah, she looks like comatose. Like she looks like she's heavily drugged or something.
And then we get a quick, again, like maybe 1 second shot of an apple that has got a bunch of forks stabbed into it.
Dozens of forks stabbed into it. That was my symbolism to come back to.
Yep. I wanted to point it out so that we could come back to it later.
She quickly regains her composure. Oh, it's just that they're having private time and we shouldn't interrupt them. And Utena, as dense as she is, goes, yeah, okay, that's fair. Nanami sees Himemiya being manipulative in this way, and she says to herself under her breath, she scares me to death. Himemiya hears her say that and turns to her and says, oh, thank you very much. Nanami says how weird it is to for the two of them to be sleeping facing each other, parroting Joel's thoughts from a few episodes ago.
Really quickly, I did have a bit more of a think about that when I got into bed with my girlfriend the other night, and I was like, no, we are face to face right now.
We're not upside down face to face.
We're not upside. I guess that's the weird thing, is that you're upside down.
She also basically tells Utena what's going on, and Utena just doesn't hear it because she's being really dense. She answers another call to screenet from whoever this girl is, but this time it's the end of the world. Akio. She goes to Touga and professes her love to him, saying that I can't be around you anymore. It's too hard for me to know that you don't love me back, so I've requested a transfer, presumably to another school then, right?
Yeah, that's how I interpreted that.
At this point, he starts his whole spiel about can you hear it, the car, and blah blah blah, and the car smashes in through the windows, and she goes for a drive with him and Akio. Touga forces himself on her in the back seat, but she rejects him. Not like this! Akio jumps on the bonnet. Nanami approaches the mean girls who've rejected her, saying, we're in charge now, what are you going to do about it? Cut to it panning up from the ground, and they are beaten the shit out of. She's kicked all their asses and reasserted herself.
I like to think that she just slapped them continuously.
Slap, yeah. That's all she's got. She thwacks Himemiya and challenges Utena to a fight. The shadows are bending spoons with psychic powers. In the arena, Touga draws Nanami's sword and they fight. Utena wins. Nanami breaks down as she realises that she's just another fly in the swarm now. Akio and Touga have pillow talk about how Touga and Nanami were both adopted and they actually are blood siblings. And he says, yeah, but isn't the idea of siblings not being related more romantic? And Akio says, ooh, you are bad. Like, oh, you. Oh, you. Jewel 33, title.
The Prince Who Runs Through the Night.
Correct. 5 points. Himemiya is standing in the planetarium talking on the phone to somebody. Utena is stretching back at her place after returning from a fairground. She wishes Himemiya could have come with them. Who's them? We don't know. The shadows on the radio are running a contest. They phone Akio as he drives, and this is the first time we've heard... They were the shadows, right? It was
definitely. Akon and Beacon.
Yeah. This is the first time we've had interaction between a character and the shadows, like, directly. Two-way interaction, I should say. They phone Akio as he's driving and they say, are we speaking with End of the World? And he goes, yes, you are. And they're like, what does eternal mean for $100 or whatever? And he goes, what does eternal mean to me?
They give 3 options, A, B, and C, and one it's like...
Diamonds. Friendship or something.
Friendship and a can of peaches.
A can of peaches. Yeah, he goes, what does eternal mean to me? Oh, wait, I've got another call coming in. And he switches over to the call and says... Yep, okay, I'm on my way. And then he hangs up and says, sorry, I've got to go to my other job, my side job. And he hangs up on them. He speeds up crazy fast. The lights are flying past, basically warp speed. And then eventually, he smashes into the Saionji scene way back in the start of the car introductions.
And that's when we figured out it was a clip show, and I was very upset. I was like...
The clip show begins. Yeah.
I did think that maybe it wasn't going to be a clip show still. I thought maybe they were just going to show what Akio has been up to.
Yeah, I figured that as well, and I was like, oh, this is exciting. This is a good way of doing the clip show. Like, it'll be Akio at what he was doing right before he races in on the car each time.
But no.
We see Saionji's clips, and then it's Utena listening to a fight on TV, and then she stretches some more. And then it's the Mickey clips, and then Utena's drying her hair after washing up, and she struggles to remember the name of some teacher. And then she stretches some more and remembers leaving some bread out on the side this morning. Whoops, it's going to go mouldy. And then there's some more clips, and then Akio is driving again, and the shadow DJs call him again, saying, have you got that answer for us yet? And he goes, oh, what do miracles mean to me this time? Oh, miracles, blah, blah, blah. And then it's the jury clips. And then Utena is talking about how she always screws up measurements. She's playing Othello against somebody we don't know. All this time with Utena talking, she's obviously talking to somebody when we're not meant to know who it is. She talks about how she's always messing up the measurements of when she's making macaroni and things, makes too much. And then there's some more clips, and then finally Utena goes to bed.
And Akio is talking to the shadows on the radio about what miracles mean.
And then Utena talks about having to need to make her lunch for tomorrow. We shouldn't have stayed out so late. She deliberates over what she should eat. Oh, we've got some salmon and we've got some asparagus. Maybe I should make a sandwich out of it. Yeah, she talks about making a salmon, asparagus, egg mayonnaise sandwich.
I'm not sure if that's a delicacy in Japan or not, or whether she's just nuts.
Turns out she's distracted.
Yeah,
she's got something deep inside her.
Yeah, she gets very distressed almost.
And then we see Akio's hand
Yeah.
entwined in hers.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, she could just be fucking any black guy. So.
Well, there's not even one black guy in the entire show. I'm sorry, do you mean black person and that it was definitely Anthe?
Yes.
You're right,
was,
okay, cool, thank you, yes.
Yeah.
Well, she's very scary.
She did pose as Mamiya that whole time. So.
No, that's true.
Anyway, Mamiya is now on the phone, back at the beginning sequence in the planetarium, but now we're seeing the other side of the conversation as well. She's talking to Akio. Did you get my flowers, she says, and Akio says, yes, it was lovely, and then he hangs up, and he looks across into the passenger seat, and he's driving with Utena. God fucking damn it. You dumb... God, you can't do this to me.
Yeah.
Gee whiskers.
Thoughts? Initial thoughts? Still liking it?
I didn't... we don't need another clip show. Yes, I really enjoyed the episodes with Nanami and Touga.
Yeah.
Those were two strong ones, but really disappointed that we had another fucking clip episode. It started so strong with the clip episodes as well.
Yeah.
Building on stuff, and it's done nothing with them.
Yeah, this one felt like they were like, oh, but look at all these reveals we're making about... It's like we knew already. We knew he's end of the world. We knew he's shagging his sister. And we know that Utena is now banging him as well. That's stuff that has been alluded to strongly enough that we get it.
It was almost like a half episode.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which made it easier for my job, because I spent so much time taking notes on the first two that it helped me cut down the time to take notes on the last one. I'm like, clip show, more clips.
So should we have a bit of a deeper discussion about episode 31?
So it's kind of fucked up to joke about showering with your sister, even if you don't know that she's already messed in the head.
Okay, you know what? Let's take. Okay, so I didn't know how to structure this, but let's. I feel like we should maybe just readdress the incest in the show, because the incestuous relationships in the show are always, all of them are toxic. I mean, almost all of the relationships in the show are toxic anyway. But I mean. Okay, so one of our friends of the podcast pointed me in the direction of there's a director's commentary pamphlet for each of the episodes. So it's kind of like they asked the director to just write a few words for each episode as opposed to sitting down for the full 20 minutes and writing it out. And in episode Kozue's episode with the Black Rose, I forget which episode that is. I think it's like 20 something, 19, doesn't matter. They were saying that they think that the reason that brother-sister relationships in particular, but incestuous relationships are common in fiction is because it's, and we've kind of briefly touched on this before, but it's the idea of like having somebody who knows everything about you and knows, you know, like when you're upset before you're upset, just because they know you, because they've been with you for so long, and they have a kind of unconditional love for you, and wanting to make that kind of relationship a romantic relationship. And it's easy to project those feelings onto a brother, because as you know, when you see somebody like with their brother that they have, or sister, that they have that kind of relationship. So in fiction, that's why they do it.
It's Touga is all kinds of fucked up. We knew he was fucked up, but this first two episodes was like, man, he's so fucked up. Yeah,
because he knew that they were both adopted and then lied about, although I was thinking, did she say, I think she might, the way she worded it might have been, our parents different to like the parents that we think are our parents, and he was agreeing to that. But I don't understand.
No. She says, "You're not my brother," and then he says, "Oh, how did you find out?"
Right, okay.
So he's not like the way that it's worded, at least in the subtitles.
Yeah.
Is that he's never the one to say, "I'm not your brother," but he manipulates her into thinking that.
Because the other thing, the way I interpreted her wanting to leave the house was not because she was like, oh, we're not brother and sister anymore, I can't fuck you. Because, I mean, there was a little bit of, I thought, like, you know, our relationship isn't what I thought it was. But the way I interpreted it, especially because there's one part where she confesses that she loves him, the way I interpreted it was that she actually didn't want to take the relationship to a romantic level.
Yeah.
But now that she knew that they weren't related, she wanted to, like, she didn't think that she would be able to stop their relationship from going to a romantic level.
Okay.
Does that make sense? She kind of was flirting with the idea of like, oh, I love him so much, and oh, he's so attractive and so good looking. But that was kind of her just fawning over her big brother. Yeah. But now that, or she thinks that they're not related, she's like, oh shit. That means we actually could fuck. Like, that means
that terrified her.
Yeah. That she was afraid of losing what she thought was their established relationship.
Was safe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now it's not a safe. Not that it was a safe, but now she doesn't think it's a safe relationship.
Yeah.
And what's with her disgust of finding Anthe and Akio?
Well, that's what made me think she doesn't actually want to take her relationship with Touga to a romantic level. She kind of flirts with the idea and kind of finds the concept attractive, you know, having a romantic partner that cares for you like a family member. But when she actually gets confronted with it and Anthe and Akio banging on the couch, she's repulsed by it because she's just like, how could you do that with your younger sister?
She seems like real naive to like you said, like she has this idea that she loves him because she wants like
his attention.
That person from her childhood, that person who knows her so well. She wants to be with that person, but it's like she doesn't understand everything.
Yeah.
And that was like the realization of what relationships are, like the realities.
Yeah.
And it's
this
awful.
Like, I don't know though. I think that there might be some envy in it. I think that she's repulsed at them doing it because
she didn't get to do it.
Doing it. Yeah, I think it's it's a repulsion of envy. Like, look how gross it is for anyone else to do. It's
true.
It's a hypocritical thing, I think. Anyway,
you're entitled to.
I can see it as being like the way that she. As she's like seeing it in front of her is different from how imagining it would be for her.
Yeah,
and now she sees somebody else doing it and thinking, "This is sex. This is a physical relationship."
Yeah,
and then shortly after, when Touga forces himself on her, and she's like, "No, get off me!" and he's like, "This is what you want," and she's like, "No, it's not," and he's like, "Then what do you want?"
Yeah, see that again. That was reinforcing my idea that she didn't actually want a physical relationship with him, and also. We love to hate on Nanami up until this point. We've just been shitting all over every episode that's focused on her.
Yeah.
And I thought that with my interpretation of it, this was really redeeming her as a character in my eyes, or making her more human and understandable.
Yeah.
And more relatable maybe, which is why I was trying to lean into her not actually wanting to manipulate her brother.
Yeah.
But bringing it back to Touga, I don't know what his goal is apart from him just being an actual psychopath.
Yeah, he might be.
Because Akio seems to have a goal somewhat with manipulating his sister because she's the Rose Bride and it ties into the castle.
You get the impression with Akio's manipulations that he's doing it as they're all pawns on a chessboard and he knows what he's going for with his endgame.
Yeah.
You get the impression with Touga that he's doing it because he's a fucked up human.
Just because he can.
He just can. He can fuck with people and he doesn't care about people at all. He's a genuine sociopath or whatever. Because he makes jokes about them showering together and giving them goodnight kiss and stuff, knowing that will fuck with her head somewhat rotten. Waits an obscene amount of time before telling her he's joking, sort of thing. And just messing, like when he knows that she's in earshot, saying that he doesn't care about her and he never did, sort of thing. And
because you could see, maybe he's pushing her to the duel But why is he invested in the jewels in the same way that Akio is? Because Akio is not letting him in on the bigger picture.
Yeah.
He's just like, ooh, something eternal. Utena's kind of hot. Ugh. I'm a fuckboy.
There was like a theme almost in those first 2 episodes of inappropriate jokes, because it wasn't just him. Like he said the thing about the shower and the kissing. Akio said the thing about the making a harem. Himemiya said something about Akio's real ladies' man, and he didn't discriminate against girls. Kidding. And like just that,
even Nanami tried to get in on it, saying I could swap rooms with you, Mickey. Just kidding. And Atsuabuki, I could come stay in your room. Just kidding.
Yeah. There was a lot of like, I don't know if that was like a theme for a reason or not, but just like inappropriate jokes or humor in the face of adversity or something. I don't know.
There's the whole thing of, when you're flirting with somebody, you throw something out there, and then if it's not received well, you retract the statement really quickly. That I don't know if that's anything. I did notice that as well.
What did you think of the just inexcusably long scene of her staring at him in the shower? It went on. I had to count it. It was 18 seconds of a still image of him just posing with his arms outstretched, a silhouette of him behind the curtains, and her just watching. And there's a little red rose spinning in the corner. For 18 seconds of nothing happening, and she's just watching him in the shower.
This is...
The red rose means love, right?
No, that's Touga.
Touga.
Yeah, because there's all the different roses colours of the different people. Like Touga is the red rose.
Well, I swear when Akio's fiance's mum walked into the room,
it was a red rose.
She's looking at him with a red rose.
Maybe.
I can't remember. I thought it symbolised something, but
I personally don't have an issue with long stills because they're I know that it might not be necessarily the best way of communicating it, but it's communicating her sitting down, wondering about what her relationship is like and going to be like with her brother, and whether she could just walk into the shower with him and take that next step in their relationship. I didn't have a problem with it. It's not the most. It's definitely not the most infamous still in anime.
All of which, for me, though, can be portrayed in a 5 second. Like, 5 seconds is quite a long time. If we all just sat here now for 5 seconds, that would feel like quite a long pause. If we sat here for 18 seconds of silence, that is a marathon of time to be.
Should we try it right now?
I think people would think that they'd... Oh shit, what's happened? It's turned off. I lost my headphones again.
I just realised that I'm standing in the shower wrong.
You should be standing with arms outstretched.
Like in the T-pose.
You should be like gracefully stroking your very pointed chin. Because you can hear that your sister's just entered and she might be watching you.
Of course.
Oh, that's such long hair. Oh god, I noticed that Anthy's hair this time.
Anthy's hair is
just like exploded all over the room.
Yeah.
She's naked on the couch and it's just everywhere. I thought she was dead at first. Like, the first time through watching it, I was like, because it shows very quick flashes.
Yeah.
Flashes being the right word, because it does show like a couple of frames, and I wanted to be like, I had to pause it to be like, is she actually naked? Are they alluding to it? But no, she's absolutely naked, and there's a couple of strands of hair covering her nipples, but like your hair is just everywhere, and I'm like, okay, yeah, this is they can't argue against this anymore. They are definitely fucking.
Yeah.
Did you notice that when they were rock paper scissoring for the beds? Did you notice anything about that?
Anthy went rock and the other two went paper.
Yeah, and Anthy went rock like a second after the other two. So the other two put their hands in as paper, and then Anthy puts it in and goes, "Oh, I guess I lost.
I have to sleep with my brother now."
And Nanami and Utena don't recognise it, and I didn't the first time through.
I didn't notice that either.
Utena and Nanami go, "Yeah, we get the beds or whatever," and Anthy's like, "Okay."
I think that's crazy detail. I think that the show is so good at that little
bit saying.
Yeah.
Somebody else pointed, a friend of the podcast pointed out to me that the scenes where the light reflects off of Anthy's glasses and you don't get to see her eyes, we've been looking at that and going, that's real creepy and ominous. Because what is she thinking? Their interpretation of it was that it is when she is trying to hide her true emotions. how she really feels about a situation.
Okay.
So, real quick digression to last week's episode, or last week's 3, where she's holding the candle and she's watching Akio push himself onto Utena, and she's standing there with the last candle and it's doing that reflection thing.
Yeah.
And we were like, fuck, that's ominous. It could be that she is... I thought... I can't... Okay, so that interpretation was me still thinking that she's very gay for Utena. I'm less convinced of that now.
Oh no.
And
But-
she's more like hiding jealousy. or
hiding her jealousy. Like, I'm cool with this. It could still work that she's jealous of Utena with being with Akio, but it's her pretending to be fine helping out with his machinations
Yeah.
when it's hurting her
Yeah.
in maybe more than one way.
Yeah, I'd say if she's hiding feelings, it's not a jealousy for Akio because she gets to bone him and she knows that he's a player. And she's kind of fine with it.
True,
That
because
side
she knew that he was doing whatever with
Yeah.
Kazue,
Kane.
and her
Probably-
mum.
Yeah, probably
her
Tana's
man.
mum as well. It would be that she's trying to hide that she's now starting to have human feelings and go, oh shit, this is not right what he's doing to people, and I'm starting to understand that now. But he's like, oh, nah, I'll still stand by and watch it because it's normal. Utena's super dense. I hadn't really noticed it until these episodes, but she is really dense. They're writing her, especially in these episodes, as just not understanding things.
You haven't
that are
seen
obvious.
enough anime still, my friend.
Really? In what way?
Anime protagonists, especially in anything that's romance-based, notoriously dense. That's how harem shows work. You've got the main protagonist, who's the plucky young guy, and he's like, I better walk around and see if I have a good day today. And then there are like 5 girls being like, fuck me! And he's like, what a weird day. Weird stuff happened. And then he's talking to one of them like, did you see her? She was half naked. Strange. She was in my bed and everything. And then she's like, just like her dress falls off. He's like, shoddy craftsmanship.
That's fine.
So,
Fair enough.
just it's a common trope, not excusable.
Yeah.
Just it's I didn't notice that because I'm expecting it.
I just thought it was weird that we normally find that the protagonist is the person that the audience is meant to sort of relate to, and so you're meant to make the audience feel intelligent by like they're meant to get there before you explicitly say it.
She doesn't.
And she doesn't. We all understand what's going on before the main protagonist, and it's kind of dramatic irony, I guess.
She's the protagonist, but she's not really shown a lot. Like has she had a character arc?
It's a good question. I don't know.
She
if
definitely
does.
hasn't had any. She hasn't had much growth.
Yeah.
I was going to say the same thing, that she it's been a lot more focused on the secondary characters as opposed to Utena. Her character arc so far has been, I'm in love with a prince. Maybe I'm not, and now I'm kind of in love with Akio. I think that she'll have more of an arc towards the end. We've got 6 episodes left.
Episodes towards the end, though. Like, that's the one complaint I've got about this, is that it's starting to feel like a little bit of a slog, because for me it's like I'm getting to the point where I'm like, alright, get to the fucking point. We've got 6 episodes left, and I don't feel like the bad guys, for want of a better word, are gonna get their comeuppance. We don't have enough time for them to get
Well,
I don't feel like we've got enough time to give them like what they really deserve for Akio to really get what he deserves. It's not going to happen in the next one, which means it's going to be another one before that. Akio is a messed up human as well. Like he's not only just sleeping with his sister, he's sleeping with people who are underage and like.
Yeah. Okay. So just really quickly, we'll just gloss over episode 33. He is definitely banging Utena, and I mean, bad enough that he's banging his minor sister, but we've figured out Utena is 14.
14,
and he is at least 24.
Yeah,
I think.
he's an adult. Like Touga, it's messed up for Touga to be sleeping with all these girls. You can kind of excuse it because he's a teenager and he's at high school and he's got all these girls.
But Akio
is an adult in a position of power in this school, and he is using and abusing that to sleep with minors, and that's fucked up in so many ways that I don't feel like he's going to get the comeuppance that he truly deserves.
100% agree.
That's really fucked up here.
True.
Is it? I know that Japan's a bit different with like their like ages and things like that.
Okay,
and things.
real quick.
But like it's still fucked up there.
Yeah, no. Real quick
Yeah.
tangent for that as well. So there are some prefectures in Japan that have the age of consent set at 13, but it is still frowned upon, which is weird. Just change the law. They're like, it's legal, but don't fucking do it.
I will frown.
Yeah. We will frown at you. We won't be able to arrest you, but
yeah. So it's still got that.
It's still
social,
stigmatized. Yeah. But at the same time, you do have I've forgotten the word for it. There's a special Japanese word, but like compensated dating, where like an older salaryman will pay a high school student to go on dates with him, and they're supposed to be non-romantic, but there are a lot of situations and circumstances where it very quickly just turns into prostitution with a girl who's in high school, where she gets manipulated into it and then she feels trapped. So sex does happen with what we would consider minors more often in Japan. I still think it's fucked. It's still definitely fucked. Really quickly, tangent again, the thing I wanted to bring up was about the driving scenes. So the age that you can drive in Japan is 18. That's like the earliest age that you can get your learner's permit. And none of the characters are 18. So you could view the driving scenes and them being in the car as like them trying to transition into adulthood faster than maybe they should do.
Right. Just like a high school thing to do, right?
Yeah, like to want to learn to drive and have that independence.
Yeah.
But it could also be seen as maybe sex, because the global average for age of consent tends to be like, for like porn and stuff, is 18, right?
Yeah.
And drinking. So it could be like them trying to get to adulthood faster than they're perhaps ready, and also just like, and often what they do in the car is have sex, or implied sex. So it's them rushing to that level of their maturity, emotional and mental maturity.
Yeah. Do you reckon the Akio jumping out onto the bonnet is just because it's cool, or is that like symbolic of something? We've talked about him letting go of the wheel being like symbolic for like maybe it's a near-death experience that takes him to...
I think I've stepped away from that. That was when we first started to see it happen. I think it'd be closer to him relinquishing, like, because he's the one driving, so it's him relinquishing responsibility for whatever happens in the car. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's like getting two horny kids together and like putting them in...
You kids have fun now.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm gonna go into the next room.
It's him being like, this isn't my fucking problem anymore.
Does anybody else drive? I've got an image in my head of Mickey driving at one point.
No, nobody else drives.
I know that we see Anthe in the passenger seat during the fight at one point, but she's not holding the wheel. She's just along for the ride.
No, and even when we've seen the cars driving around the dueling arena, the whoever is the acting bride has always been in the passenger seat or not driving.
In episode 32, they're driving with Nanami, and Touga makes a move on her, and she like pushes him back, and then Akio's like, oh, well, I'll still do my end of the world thing.
I'm going to show you the end of the world. Jumps over the bonnet.
So what is that? Like, Nanami is clearly like rejected.
Yeah, I was confused about that as well.
So where are they going?
I was hoping that would turn into one of the things where we saw...
They didn't actually have a duel afterwards?
Yeah, where you know, when we saw in the second arc where that guy, Onion Man, got into the elevator and it stopped and went back up again. I was hoping that we were going to see that with the car. And she was like, she rejects him, and Akio goes, oh shit, alright, I better turn this car around. And he doesn't take us to the end of the world, but it went ahead anyway.
I also thought that, but I'm not sure.
To lighten the mood and take it away from all of that, I just wanted to comment on how bad Nanami is at recognizing voices. Because she's eavesdropping on Keiko and Touga speaking, and she doesn't recognize the girl who's been like following around high school for goodness knows how many years at this point, until she finally sees her. And she also doesn't recognize Akio's voice on the phone, even though she's been living with him and all of this. And then he drives in through the wall and he goes, let's go for a ride. And she goes, oh, it was you. It's
so dumb.
Ridiculous.
Do we have anything else to add for episode 33?
33. So, not really. Like, other than just like the things that Utena's talking about when it cuts back to her between clips. Does that hold relevance, do you think? Like, she's talking about forgetting somebody's name. Okay. She's talking about making food for tomorrow's lunch and stuff.
For me, that is the same level of obscurity as the shadows, and we could pontificate on what those could mean, but I don't think it would be interesting to listen to.
Yeah, true.
So instead of that...
I've got something to say about that.
Okay.
Well, I just had a thought that it's like her... to me, it felt like someone who went into shock or something like that. Someone who's just sort of talking gibberish. She can't... I don't know if she regrets what she's done, but it seems like she's definitely changed. Her feelings towards Akio have changed. She's not addressing what's happened. She's like gone into that place.
She's talking about anything
her.
other than what's actually happening.
Because the way that it's framed is we see her, she's back from the fair, and then we can assume that, like, I don't know where they had sex, but like the date that she had with Akio led to sex.
Yeah.
And that is where the episode ends. But everything that we've seen in the episode before that is her dealing with that.
Yeah.
You think? Yeah, that's an interesting way of I think that's a pretty good read.
Yeah, that was just kind of what I got, but yeah.
She's just, like, she's gone introspective now that it's actually been real for her, and she always, up to this point, she always thought that she would be with the prince. And now she's just lost her virginity to this Akio guy, and she's like thinking about that and doesn't want to think about that because it'll lead down a spiral. So she's protecting herself by thinking about tomorrow's lunch or something instead.
Like you said, she's been really dense, and maybe that's partly due to her infatuation with Akio, sort of not being able to see who he actually is. Like Nanami goes in for one night and spots them having sex. Utena hasn't discovered any of that. She even walked in on them at an awkward point, but...
Yeah, when Anthe was on the floor in front of him at one point.
Yeah.
And she's like, oh, am I interrupting something? And he goes, no, you can come in. And Nanami pretty much outright says it. She goes, I can't believe that you don't see what's happening between them. And they're like, and she just like says something completely unrelated.
She's just like, that's so strange.
Yeah, and she goes... that's why you can live with those perverts of a brother and sister or whatever. And she's like, yeah, they're lovely people. She's just not even hearing the words that Nanami's saying.
Yeah, but maybe now it's starting to register a bit more.
Maybe.
Yeah, don't know.
Hopefully we'll find out in the next episode.
And I just also with Nanami, I kind of saw it as another thing. I don't know if we talked about it, but her entire personality was built on the fact that she was Touga's sister. And when she learns that it's not, I think she has like a real self-identity crisis.
Who the hell am I then?
Yeah. And after the car ride, she seems to have sort of found something inside herself that makes her like take on the world, you know? Like how is she going to gain control over these three friends? Like beats the shit out of them. How is she going to like figure out what to do? Duel Utena for some reason.
Utena says to her in the arena when she sees who the challenger is, and Touga walks out and she goes, oh, Touga, you're behind this then. You forced Nanami to do this. And Touga says something along the lines of, no, she's wanted to do this on her own kind of thing. So maybe she's getting a little bit of...
Maybe that's like the growth thing for her, is that
she's got to separate her identity from her brothers.
Yeah.
And then it's kind of sad at the end of the fight when she's lost and she says, I'm just another fly in the swarm. Like, she's got nothing that's special about her anymore. She's not like...
she's lost that.
She was always basking in the light from Touga. She was right next to him and she's like, look, I'm famous as well because he's...
But now she realised that she was just standing in his shadow.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Nice.
Predictions?
I predict that Dios is going to stand up on the egg, and then the egg is going to hatch, and there's going to be a chicken inside, and he'll ride the chicken down. Because a lot of people don't know this, but chickens can actually fly short distances, so he's going to ride the chicken down.
Is he going to be like holding onto its legs Zelda style, or is he going to be like riding it like
on top of it? It's a very big chicken. Did you see that egg?
It's going to be like Final Fantasy style.
Like I didn't want to say chocobo, but it's a chocobo, but they can fly. So he flies down from the castle on the chocobo, and then when he meets eyes with Akio, they like lock eyes, and then Akio's like, no, not supposed to be like this, and then Dios chases him and then pins him down and then sinks into his body, fusing with Akio, and then now they're one person again because they were two halves of one whole. And now I don't know what their real name would be, but I do like the idea that they're both
two halves.
That's the real production,
and
but I gave it more
Akio,
flavour.
and Akio has like trapped, but I would think that Akio had trapped the good half of him, and so he can do all his debauchery shit. But then why is he trying to release him?
Because maybe he doesn't like being evil. Maybe by trapping his good half, he's lost access to other things like eternity, whatever that is. Prediction?
I've got nothing.
That's weak.
The very next episode is going to be accessing the castle. Utena's going to meet her prince, and she's going to be like, oh, shit, I just lost my virginity yesterday. And now I meet the prince that I've been looking for all my life, and it's, fuck. And she's going to be in two minds about Dios and Akio. Touga and Akio are going to have a bit of a face-off over Utena, I think.
Maybe.
Akio is going to reveal that he's been using Touga the same way he's been using everybody else, and Toga's like, "No, we were using people together. I was manipulating people on behalf of you." And he's like, "Yeah, but I'm manipulating
you to do that."
Yeah, I'm manipulating you to do that for me. Yeah, so dense. That's my prediction. Toga's going to get used.
Pretty good. Favorite bit?
For me, it would be Nanami saying, "She scares me to death." And Akio saying, thanks a lot. Anthe saying, thanks a lot.
That was pretty
like
good.
Looking at her while she's holding a gigantic saw in her hands behind her.
Yeah, that was a good moment. I really liked how they there was a shot in that room when Utena is on one side and Anthe's on the other, and Nanami is just like sitting on the wall in the background in like a fetal position, tiny, and you really got to see like how scared and
alone she feels.
Yeah.
I was going to say that, but because you said it, now I can't say it. So instead, I'm going to say that my favourite bit was when Nanami challenges Utena to a fight, and she says, "What? Why? What reason do I have?" And then Nanami says, "I'm sure that you don't want anything bad to happen to him," and they've tied up Choo Choo. He's still in it, baby. Choo Choo's still in the game.
It is weird when he transitions from being just a background humorous item that's just part of the furniture to actually like a plot point like that.
Like people address him.
Yeah.
Wasn't he floating at one
Yeah,
stage? They were just completely ignoring
Yeah,
him.
he floats up and then you hear like a faint pop and he falls back down the screen and then he floats back up again. He's just presumably doing this perpetually.
I just remember one thing you mentioned earlier about the apples, the feeding the apples and the forks.
Oh, yeah.
Did we get to
We
that?
didn't really address what
We
that
didn't.
was.
I wanted to point it out because it's fucked, but I don't have anything to add. I was hoping that somebody else had something.
Yeah, no, I
I'm
had
not sure
nothing.
what it symbolised or anything. It definitely felt like she was drugged. Like, to
Yes.
me. He sort of positions her chin up and she's kind of
Feeds
glazed,
her.
and then he feeds her a piece of apple and her mouth kind of half opens to accept it.
Really dark show. It's really fucked up.
A parting note before we move on. I heard that there's a movie called The Adolescence of Utena, and I heard that it's a summary of the show, and so I wrote it off because those are usually shit.
Okay.
You may as well just fucking watch the show because like it's a 12-episode show that they made into a movie,
and you get
the show
nothing from it.
Well, the show is so short that you may as well just fucking watch the show.
Right,
or it's like Avatar: The Last Airbender, where it's like 40, 50, 39 episodes, and it's like, well, they're going to cut out so much that you may as well fucking watch the show.
Yeah, either you've got to cut out so much that
it's not worth it.
It's a weird
or
idea.
they don't cut out enough, and you might as well just watch it.
Yeah.
So either way,
Bizarre. But had a look at it, and it came out 2 years after the show. The animation quality is a lot better, which doesn't always happen. It's considerably better. The art style is different. Still very, very shoujo, but not the same as the TV show. And I've heard that there's actually a lot of stuff from the manga that isn't in the anime, in the movie.
Okay.
Like some character backstories that didn't quite make it into the anime because they didn't have time, which is, nonsense. Nonsense. They could have paced it better. So maybe once this is all wrapped up, I will. I don't think we should watch it for the podcast, but
we can watch it and talk about it in a Weeb review or something. Yeah,
I don't think it's worth doing a whole thing on because Jesus Christ, we've talked about Utena enough.
Utena enough, yeah.
But with that, I think it's time that we move into A spooky Weebin review.
A Weebin review.
Oh, damn it! A Weebin review, or this week, a Weebin review, can barely even say it, is the segment where we talk about other anime, manga, weeb shit related stuff that we did in the week, and we're going to do that right now. Robert, I think you should go first.
All right.
Because you have some stuff this week.
I do, yeah. I watched and read in a couple of things. That's right. I read my first manga this week.
Oh, mangoes.
Yeah. I read a thing that I'm not sure is manga after reading it, and then I read some other things that are definitely manga. I read I Love Halloween, which is a story by Keith Griffin, art by Benjamin Roman. Those don't sound very Japanese, do they? The first thing that put me onto thinking it maybe isn't technically manga is the fact that when I picked up the book, you read it front to back, you read it left to right.
Western front to back.
Western front to back, sorry. And I was like, that's not right. Maybe they just reprinted it for Western audiences or something. And then I noticed the names and I thought, those aren't Japanese names. And then I started reading it and I was like, this style is weird, but it doesn't seem Japanese. But on the back cover it says manga. And then there's a couple of like stamps in Japanese, and it says Manga Revolution and stuff. But then I looked it up, and it's produced by Tokyo Pop, which sounds like a Japanese thing, but it's an American publisher
Company, yeah.
So I don't know. I showed it to Joel before starting, and he and Curtis had a little look through it, and it doesn't seem like manga, does it?
No.
So I don't know why they get away with calling it manga.
I think in the first UTK that we did under the Kotatsu, which is no longer available, so we can I think we can get away with bringing it up again. We talked about how there's like a blurry line between how anime as a concept should be defined and by extension manga. Yeah. The consensus that we kind of came to was that anime is an art style, either narrative or stylistic, like aesthetics. And as long as you adhere to that, you can call yourself an anime. An example of a Western anime that we gave was Avatar: The Last Airbender. I think that we can all agree that it's not the most anime thing, but it's a Western anime. Yeah. It feels very anime. Another example that I would give is the 2003 Teen Titans series that aired on Cartoon Network. That also feels quite anime. So that one's less than Avatar, but quite anime. So with that idea in mind, I haven't read the book that Robert read, but I had a look at it. It doesn't really feel like an anime, which is fine. I mean, it doesn't mean like there are plenty of things that aren't anime that are good, but strange choice, strange recommendation to have given to you. But whatever.
I mean, for anyone who's like a casual fan of anime and manga, they might just pick it up and think, oh, it's an animated comic book and it says manga on it, and they'd think it is. And it sounds like it's from anime because it says Tokyo on it. So it's like, yeah, sure. But yeah, for anyone who's like a proper manga fan, you'd definitely not call this manga.
Just call it a comic book.
It looks like it's done in a similar style to Yonan Vasquez, which is the creator of Invader Zim and Johnny the Homicidal Maniac. Honestly, thinking about it for a little bit longer while we were talking, I think it's more of an insidious ploy to just get like mums to buy it. Do you know what I mean?
Yes,
my son said he likes mangoes. And then they go to the store and it says Tokyo on it, and it's got like some Japanese kanji on the back. And
Jimmy, you like manga? I buy some manga.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what it looks like. Again, I haven't read it, so it could be standing on its own merits, but if you're having to go with those kind of marketing tactics, maybe it's not very good. Anyways.
Yeah, it is what it is. And then I read something because I managed to find some short stories from a mangaka called Junji Ito. Junji Ito, I heard a recommendation from a friend that he's definitely the go-to guy from horror mangas and stuff.
Yeah, no, he's the horror manga god.
I tried finding like a longer story that was recommended and I couldn't, but I found a load of short stories. I found Human Chair, Fixed Face, and She is a Slow Walker.
I haven't read those three.
Those were pretty fun. So Human Chair, very short story about a woman who goes into like a carpenter's place looking for a chair. And he starts talking about this armchair that he's got and the history of it, and how there was a writer just like her who used this chair, and she found that it cured her writer's block. And then she started getting fan mail, and one of the letters she got was from a guy who claimed to be living inside of her chair. And I love it when you sit in me and all of this. It's like a warm embrace and blah, blah, blah. She starts to get freaked out thinking he was real, and then she gets another letter saying, how do you like my short story? And she's like, oh, okay, it was just a joke and blah, blah, blah. And then she hears footsteps in her house at night, and she's like, oh shit, I think it's the guy getting out of the chair to walk around. And then her husband's like, don't be fucking ridiculous. He sits in the chair, and then he dies, and there's a stab wound in his back, and there's a knife sticking out of the chair, and she's like, oh, there's a guy in the chair. And then the police come around, and they tear open the chair, and sure enough, there's a huge person-shaped hole for the guy to be sitting in the chair. And there's like shelves for like beans and things that he's been eating while he's been sitting in this chair.
That's so gross.
Yeah.
It's so creepy.
Real quick, I want to hear more about those short stories. So Junji Ito, most of his work is short stories, one chapter long, but they're all so bizarre, which is the big draw for his horror. His art style is so unsettling with the way that one doesn't sound like it's a lot of visual horror. It sounds like a more psychological thing.
Although at the end of it, the guy in the goes back to the carpenter's office and he goes, don't worry, this is not the actual same chair, but it is the same style of chair. And then he unzips the back of the chair effectively, and there's two corpses sitting in the hole of the chair. And like he says, that woman ran away with the guy who was living in the chair after all, and this is
right.
Wow. I'm a descendant of theirs. Here, have a chair.
And then he's in there. Is it a horrible body? Yeah. I love Junji Ito. Fuck that dude is so strange. So we're going to talk about him a little bit more. I just he one time I was watching an interview with him. It was like a series where they would get two mangaka to just talk to each other about their work, and Junji Ito was working on a page while he was talking to the other guy. And he was drawing really slowly. For some of his horror, the more visual stuff, it's really detailed. Like, there are a lot of lines. I showed you guys Uzumaki that I have.
Yeah.
Detailed, like, lots of thin lines, and detailed in a way that makes you feel uncomfortable. Another mangaka was watching him work and was like, you're so slow. And Junji Ito apparently had never, like, seen anybody else draw and was like, no?
Right,
like, no, this is just how long it takes.
Wow.
Very funny. I don't know. I love finding out about illustrators and their methods, and especially if they take a really long time.
Yeah, you know that guy's spending a lot of hours.
To get that outcome. Anyways.
I watched one called Fixed Face that was a real short one about a girl who goes to the dentist, and to secure her head while he takes images of her jaw, he puts like a clamp on the sides of her head with like tiny little conical metal bits that go into her ears and holds her still. And then he goes, oh, the X-ray camera's just run out of film, I'll just be right back. He walks out of the room, slips down the stairs and breaks his back and dies. Nobody thinks to come and get her, so she's just screaming in pain and trying to pull herself out of this machine, and she's in there all night, and eventually she turns herself upside down in the machine, hooks her legs over the top, and she tries to like pull her head out the bottom of it, and it's like showing that her ears are starting to tear. And then she's in and then she's in like a bar later on, and she's telling the story, and her hair's all grown out and over her ears, and the guy's like, so how did the woman escape? And she's like, oh, she just pulled her head out. And he's like, oh, let me see your ears. And he reaches out and she's like, no! And she screams and pushes him away.
It's a bizarre thing to do to somebody that you met. Let me think you're the person in this story.
In this story, but the last one that I want to talk about with Junji Ito is She is a Slow Walker, which it starts with a guy and a girl as brother and sister, I think, that are arguing over zombies, whether fast-moving zombies or slow-moving zombies are more scary. He's saying, don't be fucking ridiculous. Slow-moving zombies are not scary at all because you can just run away from them. Why would you ever be scared of them? George Romero zombies are a thing of the past, blah, blah, blah. She goes, it gets so heated that she storms out of the house. Yeah. She no sooner is the front door slammed than it opens again. She rushes in going, oh my god, I've just been bitten by a strange weirdo. What the fuck? And she slams the door. He goes to the peephole. Oh shit, there's zombies everywhere.
Yeah.
And they are running. They're running after people. Oh my god. And she's like, oh, I guess you were right. The fast-moving zombies are scarier. He's like, I knew this day would come. And he opens up his pantry and he's got all the stocks and supplies. He's prepared for a zombie apocalypse. He ties her up in the corner and says, look, if you're not infected, I'll let you go, but I can't take the risk. Over the next couple of days, she dies and is infected and comes round, and he's like, oh shit, she's a zombie now, but he can't bring himself to kill her because he's his sister. He thinks she's dead, so he puts the camera... He sets up like a tripod with a camera filming her all night to see when she reanimates, if she does. And then he like accidentally falls asleep next to her. And he wakes up. He wakes up to find her like stretching against the gag, like right up against his face, trying to bite him, but in like a statue form. And he's like, what the fuck? And then he replays the thing, and she is moving. She's just moving at like a couple of millimeters an hour or whatever. She's moving at like glacial speeds. And she turns towards him and tries to bite him. And he goes, ha ha ha, I guess you're a slow-moving zombie now, blah, blah. And he lets her loose because he's arrogant. He takes off all his ropes and stuff, and she's like... And then he goes, I bet I could even fall asleep next to you, spooning. So he does. He falls asleep next to her, spooning. And the next morning, she's like millimeters away from biting his nose, and he's like, oh, I guess I was pushing my luck a bit there. Cut to like a couple of weeks later, and he's run out of food now, and the zombie apocalypse is still going, and he's now trapped in this house with her, and he's not been bitten because he can avoid her. And eventually he's so wasted away and lacking energy that she catches up to him, and he goes, oh fuck, I guess you were right, slow moving zombies are the way forward, sort of thing. And then there's like a chomp. And I won't spoil the very last page, but it's worth watching, reading just for that last page. Yeah, really cool, really, really gruesome, really horrific.
So can I say, so do you, because I accused you of having a weak heart last week.
Yeah, the doctors have seen to it. It's fine. I'm taking medication.
You're taking medication now. Do you think that you would continue to read Junji Ito work if it weren't Halloween or a spooky season?
I mean, yeah, maybe. I mean, it didn't bother me. Like, it wasn't that scary.
But were you like? Would you actively seek it?
No. Probably not.
Fair enough.
No, probably not. But it was enjoyable while I was reading it for a purpose for this spooky month. It did start me thinking about like why we have a spooky month and not like we have got a romantic month in February. We've got a spooky month in October. We don't have like a comedy month and like a
April is comedy festival in Auckland. So
yeah, it would just be
April
weird.
Fools in 420. Come on, Robert.
Okay, yeah, I'll tell you about it. We've got a comedy month as well. We've got a romance month. Imagine if just like every month was just like another emotion or something that we just celebrate. We just celebrate something else. All right, slam on the brakes, take it back down for the people who have a weak heart, a really weak heart. I watched Pokemon. I watched Tower of Terror, which is the Lavender Town episode where they meet Ghastly and Haunter and things.
Oh, yeah.
And I watched it from the frame of mind of like, would this be scary if I was a little boy? And I think it would. It's like there's at some point, like Ash gets killed and turned into a ghost, and Pikachu does too, which confused me because as soon as a Pokemon becomes a ghost, it becomes a Ghastly or a Haunter, right?
No, I think you have to check the lore because some Pokemon are completely fucked. Like there's one Pokemon in I think 5th gen, and I do not remember what it was called, but the lore on it is that it is when children go out into the woods and get lost.
Oh, they become a tree.
And die. Yeah, they possess a tree stump, and the tree stump becomes a Pokemon. So, cool, I guess.
But yeah, it's weird. They get killed by a falling chandelier, and Haunter or Gengar or something, they pull them out of their bodies and they become ghosts, and then they start like pulling pranks on Misty and Brock, and then eventually they're like, oh, I guess it's time to go back. So it was kind of, I could imagine it being scary to a kid, but obviously not to anyone of double digits or more. What else did I watch? I watched some very short anime, like 4.5 minute episodes of Yami Shibai, which I think means like ghost stories or something. It's like 6 seasons now, each about 13 episodes, but as I say, less than 5 minutes each. The first one, they're sort of like a weird style. They're like it's almost like it feels like you're reading a book because they're watercolor and they're sort of in a cutout, sort of like Raymond Briggs, if you know, like the Snowman. No.
I've seen it. I don't want to step on your bit,
right.
But I it's on my to watch list, and I've seen a little bit of the style, which is why I plan to watch it. It's like it's done in Flash, if that makes more sense to some people, and it's done with really simple animations and a lot of tweening. Like they have a character model that they just kind of bend the joints of,
like South Park.
Kind of like South Park, but don't think South Park style.
Yeah,
right, different
style. Just in the cutout style. Like imagine cutting out an entire draw an anime character. Cut out the entire thing, and then like every so often just pull the hand up into frame with whatever they're holding and stuff like that. It's that style, and it's kind of cool. I watched like each episode, like I watched like 4 episodes of the first season and 4 episodes of the last season to see just the difference between them. And there's some that are just like really meh.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, there's only so much you can tell in 4 minutes, I guess, but some of them are just like, that's not even remotely frightening.
Yeah.
And some that are like, ooh, that was kind of a thrilling sort of thing. Like,
Yeah.
the one I'll talk about is in the first episode, in the first season, they had one that was called Family Rules. I think it's episode 3, and it was a guy is talking to his father-in-law, and the guy says, "Hey, it's the 29th tomorrow. I don't know if your fiance, my daughter's told you about this or whatever, but you need to come round our house because we get all of the extended family round, and we have to laugh all night." And he's like, "What?" And he goes, "Yeah, we need to laugh all the way through the night to keep, because he stalks out fear and anguish and pain in people, and to keep him away, we need to be happy and laughing all night." And he's like, "Who? He?" And he goes, "Yeah, he." And he's like, "Okay, fine, none of the necessary requirements." So he tells this like newly married into the family guy tells his little son, "Hey, we're not going to be sleeping in the same room as you tonight, by the way. Just make sure you don't leave the room." And he goes off to laugh and everything. But of course the boy wakes up during the night and he starts to hear all this laughing going on from down the hall, and he's like, "Daddy," and he walks off down the hall and he opens the door to the room where they're all staying, and the entire like extended family have got like painted faces and like Joker-like smiles, and they're all laughing, and then they stop and they look at the boy, and you can see the dad's like, "Oh shit," and he sort of like extends his hand to the kid, but that freaks the kid out even more, and the kid's like tearing up and screaming and crying, and then you see like it from like a hunter's perspective out in the woods just outside the house, and now he's heard the child crying and the fear and the anguish, and he starts to come forwards, and then obviously the
Stuff happens.
Screaming.
Curtis is getting upset.
Terrifying.
Curtis is getting upset with us just talking about this.
That was the first one, but there was like that was a thrill.
Fun.
There was another one in the episode, the first episode of season 6 that's worth watching. It's called Thunderous Visitor. I won't give it away, but that's a thrill as well if you wanted to watch it.
That's on my plan to watch, and now I'm validated, so I will check that out. Do you have anything else?
The last thing is just that I caught up to Attack on Titan, and in
that is classified as a horror.
Yeah, in episode like 9 or something, there is something that was probably more horrific than anything else I'd watched, and I wasn't watching it because it was a horror. I've fallen behind with assignments. Without giving anything too much away, there's just a gigantic Titan at some point, and his face is completely worn off, like sandpapered away.
Yeah.
And that is gruesome as fuck. Like, you can see his skull like as if it's sawn in half sideways.
Gross.
It's gross and gruesome, and his like guts all fall out and stuff.
But Attack on Titan's a good show, and we could talk about that more. But instead, I'm going to do something different. We're not going to do a recommendation this week because I'm going to recommend. Robert's been doing some recommendations just now, and I'm going to recommend some spoopy stuff for different levels. So we're going to start with, if you want to just pretend like you're participating and you don't actually want to see anything scary, so this might be good for Curtis. I think Curtis has proven that he has the weak heart. There's a new series that's just started, only 2 episodes are out, called Skullface Bookstore Employee Honda, and it's about a skeleton that works in a bookshop. And all of the other employees in the bookshop wear masks, so kind of like Halloween. And I guess it's the existential horror of having to work in retail during busy seasons. It's very funny, educational about what bookstore employee life is like.
Do they acknowledge that he's a skeleton?
No. But like things like when he gets shocked, his jaw falls off, and then he has to pick it up and put it back on. So there's physical comedy involved.
Horror.
Yeah, it's not actually a horror. It's a comedy series. It's good though. I would recommend it. And saying that, only 2 episodes have come out. I could do a Darling in the Franxton. Yeah, but good so far. Coming up after that, and I have mentioned this before, but I have watched it enough to recommend it now. There is a Japanese kids show called Ghost Stories. Not Yami Soba, it is something else, but English, it's called Ghost Stories. So you could watch it subbed and get like a kids horror show, or you could watch it dubbed and get a really strange comedy series because when the dubbing company in the States got the license for this, they were told by the parent company to make this a success any way that they could. And so they looked at it and they were like, this isn't that scary and the story isn't that good, so let's just make it into a comedy. So all of the characters are, not all of them, but a lot of them are like politically incorrect, big air quotes on that, versions of whatever they were supposed to be. Like the older senpai is a born-again Christian who really would like to save her other characters that she's looking after. Her younger brother, who's supposed to be 5, they call him a retard all the time, and they really play into it. Like, he'll just start going instead of saying lines. Like, his mouth will be moving, and clearly there's supposed to be dialogue, but they're just... And then they make fun of him for not making any sense. Lots of political stuff. Like, one girl goes, oh, don't worry, ghosts only kill bad people, like, bad people and Republicans, and we're too young to vote, so... It's stupid. It's really bizarre.
Right.
But so yeah, you could that could work both ways. Either it could be a comedy or a horror.
Twice. Like, you could watch it through both ways and get a different show each time.
I don't know. It's not that funny, and it doesn't look that scary. It's more of a novelty thing, and it's got a reputation because it's honestly. I'll show you a compilation of some of the more strange lines, but it's an enjoyable experience. So that's the next level up. The next level up is a manga called The Promised Neverland. This is a relatively new manga that's really popular, so I mean, I imagine that a lot of people would have heard of it. It's like number 3 sometimes in Shonen Jump, so it's competing with One Piece, kind of, maybe.
That's impressive, yeah.
Next it's up there with Dr. Stone. And this is, I would say, more thrilling than horror. And I think that you would enjoy it, Robert. So the concept is, the main character is, there's a girl named Emma, and she's an orphan, but she's never met her parents, but she's happy anyway because she's got 38 siblings, and she lives in an orphanage, and they're all different ages and ethnicities, ranging from ages 1 to 11. She is the oldest, tied oldest with 2 other boys. She loves her life she loves her life in the orphanage. She has a woman called Mama who looks after her. She has her ID code tattooed on her neck. They have some stuff that they have to do and before they can play, just like a few hours of tests, but then they get to play for the rest of the day. She loves her life. So they aren't allowed, the only 2 rules are, apart from like don't kill each other. I mean, the kids are not going to kill each other, but apart from normal kid rules, the rules for existing in this orphanage are don't go over the little fence in the forest, because there's like, it's surrounded by a forest, and there's like, I don't know, a chest high fence.
Why would they, why is it chest high?
And,
could if you put little effort into it.
Yeah, exactly. And also don't go anywhere near the gate.
Jesus.
And there's a huge like cast iron lifting gate at the north side of the orphanage.
Do not press this button.
Well, no, they don't. They're all enjoying their life. They're all super happy and stoked. Emma, Ray, and Norman are the 3 main characters, and they are the smartest. That's the other thing. They're the oldest, but they're also they get perfect scores on their tests every time they do it. Also, Emma is the most athletic. But then one day, like the first day of the manga, it's Connie's day to leave. The family has picked her out, and she's like, oh, I'm not as smart as you guys, but I'm going to do my best, and I'm going to be a mama just like Mama one day, and I'm going to look after lots of kids. And she goes off, but she forgot her dolly. Oh, fuck. So Emma's like, oh no, she's left her dolly, she's going to be so upset. And Ray says, oh, I just saw there are some lights up at the gate. Maybe she's still there and hasn't left yet. If you left now, you could go get it. And she's like, oh, I'm going to get in trouble though. I don't want to get in trouble. And Norman says, oh, I'll go with you, and that way she'll have to punish both of us. You won't have to be punished alone. Cool, let's go. So they take the bunny, they go to the gate, and there's a truck there, but no mama, nobody else, just a truck.
Oh, no.
And they go, Connie? And then Emma looks in the back of the truck, and Connie is just dead in the back of the truck with a flower growing out of her heart. And then they hear some noises, and I don't want to get into it, because it's starting to get into deep spoilers. This is all still first chapter.
Yeah.
But they have to try and figure out how to escape the orphanage while... And, like, the antagonist is an adult who knows more than them.
Right.
It's kids trying to outsmart an adult who has access to better technology and more information, and it's fascinating. I started reading it last night and I've read 25 chapters. It's gripping to watch them try and do this dance of like, because the mama knows after that first night that two of the kids know something is up.
Right.
But she doesn't know who.
Right.
And so she is trying to figure out who knows what's up, and they are trying to figure out how to get out and what she knows. It's a fucking awesome cat and mouse chase.
And the kids are written like kids? Like it?
They're very smart. Yeah. And they're kind of more shonen protagonisty. Like, Emma is like, we have to leave with everyone. Yeah. And Ray says, but they're 1-year-olds. Because there's like, it ranges from 1 to 11. And she's like, doesn't matter, we can make it out. As long as we plan, we can make it out. And Ray is kind of in the position of, it should just be us 3. Yeah. Because that's the best chance that we have of actually getting out of this alive.
Right.
They are kind of written like kids in the sense that they get kind of emotional sometimes and they want to play. The littler kids are written more like little kids, but these are like hyper intelligent 11 to 12-year-olds. So it's still gripping. It's still fantastic.
What was it called?
The Promised Neverland. Haven't found out why it's called that yet because whatever, but yeah. Very gripping read. So that's more of a thrilling kind of like book to book. You're like, holy shit, has Mama figured it out? What does she know? Holy shit, the kids have found this out. What does that mean? Yeah, it's good stuff. There are fantasy elements. Moving on. The next step up. The next one. This is a more adult thrilling because that's a shonen book, right? So kids, like young teens could read that. This is like an R18 horror book called PTSD Radio by Masaki Nakayama, and it is a series of seemingly disconnected short stories that once you get to volume 5 start to get tied together. I will say if I couldn't binge read it, I probably wouldn't have enjoyed it. I would have forgotten about it. But around volume 4 it starts to explore kind of what's actually happening. The way that it's paced, some chapters will only be 3 pages long, and the way that it's kind of presented is somebody kind of scanning radio stations for stories. And so, you'll get like 3 pages of a horror thing about a guy who every day when he comes home to his apartment, he opens the door and there's a black thing at the end of his hallway. And the first time he saw it, it really scared him. And then he closes the door. But then now it's there every day. He's gotten used to it over the course of 2 years.
Curtis has moved out that first day.
Yeah. But then one day he opens the door. It's at the end of his hallway. He smiles and shakes his head and he closes the door. And then he opens the door and it's touching him.
But I was expecting like a 3-part progression, like it's halfway down the hall.
No,
it's just immediately.
It's immediately looking him like right in the face and touching him. Curtis is distressed. So it's got self-contained short stories like that, and then other times it will have like some guy being like, oh, do you know crows never forget a face? And then it will just move on. And then towards the end of the book, it'll have like a guy throwing rocks at crows and then just hit the entire outside of his house surrounded by crows, like all trying to get into his house. And also another thematic thing is hair. So if you don't like hair, it's a great read. It's a great horror read. Really hairy. Like there's one where this girl keeps feeling like somebody's pulling on her hair. And she's dating
John Key.
She was dating this guy and she had a bad relationship, but ever since she started dating him, she kept feeling like somebody was tugging on her hair. So she starts cutting her hair to try and she thinks, oh, it's just too long, it's getting nagged on shit. Until the point where she's completely bald. And then she goes to meet the guy, and I will say that it doesn't stop with just pulling her hair.
Oh no.
So definitely leaning heavily into visual horror, like body horror. And weird hairy things.
Body horror.
It's good to binge read. It's also got the author, I won't say what he goes into, but he goes into his experience with supernatural stuff, which did make me roll my eyes because I'm a skeptic on all things spooky natural, but whatever. The last thing that I want to recommend is if you got a better constitution than that, because that is kind of visually scary, but it didn't really stick with me. Junji Ito's magnum opus, Uzumaki.
That's the one I was trying to find.
If you haven't read that, that stayed with me for a little while.
Probably glad I didn't find that after all.
Yeah. It's just, so the concept of Uzumaki in Japanese just means spiral.
Motherfucker. The guy who recommended this, I specifically asked for things that aren't too scary.
It stayed with me for a long time. It's mostly visual horror. But the reason that it stayed with me for a long time was, like what Curtis said earlier, the kind of having to accept the inevitability of things that you won't understand. Right. It's written in an almost it's Lovecraftian horror, right, I would say. It's like there's this eldritch thing that has been in this town since before even history began, and there's nothing that anybody can do to stop it. Is kind of how it resolves. I don't think that that's too spoilery.
Yeah.
But they it's this futile search for answers in this town as to why spirals are different. And there's just no good reason. And it never behaves in a way that people can predict.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it starts off with the first chapter is just a guy who's obsessed with spirals. I quickly showed you that one.
Yeah.
And then it goes into, like, snail shells and then pottery and just anything that has a spiral in it. Junji Ito was like, how can I make this a horrifying concept? Even, like, tornadoes in one point later on in the book.
Right.
And it just has this kind of futile existential dread the entire time you're reading it. And some of the visual horror made me feel very uncomfortable. So it's really good. But that's I mean, like, if you're listening to this and you're like, what a bitch. What a basic ass little bitch who can't even read Uzumaki. Yeah.
Then go fuck yourself.
Yeah, you're a foe, and I can't handle it. I will say that when I was in high school, I watched The Grudge 2, the English version, in the movie theater, and it ended with me literally tipping out the popcorn that my friend had bought for himself and putting the popcorn bag on my head. So I've only just now started to develop a good relationship with horror. What's so funny?
Why didn't you close your eyes?
I don't know why. I was like,
it's great though.
The scene was, I was like, they passed me the popcorn. I was like, you guys want any more? No. And like, clearly meaning not right now. Yeah, I tipped it onto the ground and then put it on my head. Was not a fan.
It's great. Just shooting out. Can't do it.
Yeah, I just checked out.
The comforting smell of popcorn.
I
need this.
And I have seen not the Grudge 1, but the Grudge 2 in Japanese as well. That is infinitely worse. If you're not a horror fan, don't watch if you didn't like the English version, don't watch the Japanese version. That's worse. That's so much more terrifying.
I've heard that before, that Japanese horrors are scarier.
Yeah. We're running long again, and we don't have much more time, but the quick little thing, I've thought about that as well. Like, why is Japanese horror more scary at least to people in the West?
Yeah.
The thing that I think is, because for me, werewolves, vampires, Jason
Derulo.
Yeah, Derulo, obviously. Not Voorhees, Derulo.
Most pop singers.
Yeah. Mike Myers. I don't really have a problem. That's the guy from Halloween, right? That's not Austin Powers. I didn't mean Austin Powers. I mean,
I went to Austin Powers.
Myers is the Austin Powers guy.
No. Yeah. Michael Myers from Halloween.
Right, gotcha.
Those guys, I don't have an issue with. Werewolves are allergic to silver. Vampires, you can stake them.
Yeah.
There are rules to how they operate. And they follow them.
Yeah.
Japanese ghosts do operate under rules, but they're not rules that we understand in the West. And they break them on a regular basis. That is what is like they break any kind of internal logic.
Like seeing a vampire running towards you and you run into your house and you're like, you can't come in unless you're invited, and then he just casually strolls in and he's like, so, and then bites you.
Well, that would be intimidating, but like Japanese ghosts, their intent is unclear as well.
Right.
So you know what a vampire wants. It wants to suck your blood. Japanese ghosts, a lot of the time, you don't know what they want. Unless it's like The Grudge and they want you to get out of their house.
Right.
But a lot, like in PTSD Radio, I don't know what the ghost wants.
Right, yeah.
What does the ghost want? Why is it at the end of his hall?
Yeah.
Why is it pulling that girl's hair?
Yeah.
They try and answer it in a roundabout way. They do a little bit of a short story on... Because another thing about Japanese like folklore is that there are gods all over. There are like literally figuratively a million deities in Japanese folklore, because they have varying levels of power and all that kind of stuff. So because they think that there are so many spirits and everything, there's the idea that if you wrong a spirit and it gets forgotten, you'll never be able to figure out why it's angry or what to do to fix it.
Right.
So it's just this unbelievable, terrifying situation that you're in that you can't fix. And that's what fucks me up.
Yeah.
Not knowing how to fix it.
Yeah, I really like the scene in Cabin in the Woods when they're talking about all the different cultures and how they appease the different gods. And, and there's the Japanese schoolgirl is like a major trope, and there's like that just that creepy Ring-esque sort of little girl with the black hair, and they've got a different style of horror.
Very different style of horror that I personally find too much for me. I was going to recommend some more Junji Ito works, but Robert has already recommended some of those.
Good job.
So I hope you enjoyed our spooky what's that? It's time for Fake Booze! Welcome to Fake Views, Fake Booze, the segment where I read some anime
It just sounds like mocktails. Fake booze.
Shit. Fuck. You guys get away with it. This is the segment where I say some anime that is real and some anime that is fake, and Robert and Curtis have to guess, and I get to laugh at them because I know more. Unless they both ace me, and then I look like an idiot, which has only happened once.
I'm the reigning champion here.
Yeah, Robert is the reigning champion, but we'll see if he can be dethroned. First anime. Play along at home. Or don't. Whatever. Something reeks, and it isn't long before the MC, main character, and her friends realize that smell is coming from dead fish that are walking out of the ocean. The fish are fused to metal legs and run around spreading disease and forcing humans into similar mechanical legs.
Ooh, creepy.
Real or fake?
Good choice for the theme.
These are all horror
real.
anime.
I want to say real.
It's real.
Yeah.
It is a movie based on the Junji Ito manga Gyo. It's pretty good. It's actually not as good as some of his other stuff. The second anime. After the main character's mother returns home from the hospital after a horrible accident, her face is bandaged and she needs to rest. But after some strange behavior and events, the main characters begin to wonder who or what is pretending to be their mother.
Real.
Fake.
That one is fake.
Yeah, boy. I don't know why. I've just seen too many things with somebody hiding behind bandages. Like, it reminded me of Hollow Man. It reminded me of there's one of the seasons of Downton Abbey, strangely.
Sure.
That has it as well. Just like people hide behind bandages.
It is a German horror film called Mother, and that's the premise of it. It's pretty good. That one's pretty scary if you wanted to watch that one. Psychological horror. Last one. After eating the flesh of a mermaid, the main character gains immortality and wanders Japan for hundreds of years. He now hunts mermaids, trying to become a normal human again.
Fake.
Real.
That one's real.
Damn, drawn.
Cabin in the Woods?
Drawn.
I was hoping somebody would have seen Cabin in the Woods and was leaning... Because I saw this and was like, this guy gets it. Mermaids being scary. It's called Mermaid Forest. Has a really low rating on my anime list. I tried to go from the bottom, but some of it was like not even worth making fun of. But then I saw Mermaid Forest and was like,
that sounds good.
That sounds stupid.
That sounds stupid.
And that's the end of this stupid segment.
It was fun.
Vampires, werewolves, ghosts, girls who climb out of your TV. This is an anime, is a horror show. And then it's going, and we're doing it again. Climbing out of TVs, my name is Ring. I feel bad for this. We'll get there. I had a strong start, but then I stumbled and fell and just lay on the ground.
I liked your first one, to be honest.
What first
The
one?
first rap.
I don't remember there being another one. That was one take.
You know what I find scary?
People's validation. Curtis, where can people find us?
Twitter?
Where else?
Reddit? Instagram?
Ooh, have we posted on Instagram lately?
Probably not.
We are there though.
All the social media sites.
All of them. Every one.
Every single goddamn one.
And if you want to get in touch with us like directly, you can also email us, KYFCaYAC, that's KYFCaYAC at gmail.com. Get in touch, let us know your thoughts and feelings. Thank you to everyone who got in touch with me about suggestions for the spooky animes that I should watch.
And thanks to the people on the YouTubes who helping me explore some of the other themes that us dum-dums are missing in Revolutionary Girl Utena. If you have any other recommendations for horror stuff, because it's not quite Halloween yet, let me know, because I want to maybe have time to check them out. I'd recommend to a friend who might like the show. We're going to be coming up to a new anime. We're going to be looking to do a shorter one in the next season. We've only got 2 more episodes of the podcast for Utena. So if you have a recommendation for a shorter, maybe 12 episode series, we've done a shonen battle series. We've done a slice of life period drama, and now we've done a shoujo. This is almost a magical girl show, I would say. Show, yeah. So if you want to recommend something that isn't any of those, maybe an ecchi series or a mecha series, let us know.
Just, if you've got a mecha series that you want us to watch, or a
mecha series, or like Squidman,
something
or
with like giant robots, battle suits.
We can't do this. Next week we'll be watching episodes 34, 35, and 36 of Revolutionary Girl Utena. But until next week, I have been your anime vampire lord, Joel.
I was your anime vampire thrall, Robert.
I was your anime vampire slave, Curtis.
Ghosts and bees and...
Failed on that right.